Hello everyone, welcome back to A Wild Approach. In today's video I actually want to do a tour, and this was filmed on April 30th. I'm doing a voiceover today on May 6th, and I'm doing a voiceover on this one in a way that demonstrates what plant is what. So for this video I actually want to name the plants because I just want you to get an idea of what I have. In this bed I have a lot of non-native irises around the edges, and they're kind of a buffer to protect my native plants. So inside of them I have a native vine called coral honeysuckle. I have a native vine called Carolina jessamine. I have this blue star, it's an Amsonia, I forget which one, maybe threadleaf. And I also have an American plum to the left of the blue star. And in the very middle of this bed, I have, oh, there's the American plum there on the left. And it did bloom a little bit this year, but it didn't like profusely bloom. And in the middle of this bed is an arrowwood viburnum shrub. You can see on the right over there. And this is all under power lines, so I picked these plants on purpose because you'll notice I didn't put any huge tree here. That way I can keep an eye on everything and not let it get way up into the power lines. This is a common 9-bark, and it is brand new. I planted it last year. And when you have a leaf mulch, sometimes it can attract the box elder bugs, especially if you use maple leaves, because they love maple trees. So just keep that in mind when you use leaf mulch. I do prefer leaf mulch, but it's just something to note. And here is another common 9-bark, again planted at the same time the other one was last year. And I have this mulch ring. It's like rubber, I guess. I don't know. It might be like recycled tires. I don't know. But I use this mulch ring for when I have a new tree or a new shrub and it's super tiny and I just want to keep the weeds from growing right up against it. That's really it. I don't, I only have this one mulch ring, and I just move it around wherever I need it. So it used to be around my Washington hawthorn, but now that I have green mulch, aka plants, growing around my Washington hawthorn, I don't need the rubber mulch ring around it anymore. So here is like a menagerie of frostweed, Virginia creeper, Carolina jessamine again, and purple passion vine grows here, but it's not up yet really, it's just poking up through the ground here and there. And then I have some grasses I probably need to remove, but it's kind of hard to remove them in the fence. And then here's another arrowwood viburnum. So you'll notice I have an arrowwood viburnum down here and an arrowwood viburnum at the top of the hill. And then I have 2 common 9-barks in between. And so you're probably thinking, well, why do you have all this lawn? Great question. I just haven't had the ability to convert this to a garden yet. But I fully plan to convert most of this strip to garden space. But in the meantime, I'm establishing the shrubs until I have the ability to add plants around the shrubs. And so when you come up the driveway, you'll see the gate opening. Of course, the gate is being worked on right now by us, so we don't have it up right now. But when you walk through the gate, on the left is the coral honeysuckle, and you walk down, this is what we call the main path. And as you walk down the main path, you will see several things, but at the end of the path is an American elderberry, which I think is just a beautiful shrub, and I'm really glad I put it there. This is mountain mint, Russian sage, daffodils. Obviously daffodils and Russian sage are not native. I have a native inkberry on the right. Inkberry doesn't do great here, so I might need to replace it. There's a grapevine growing up through all this. There's some wild bergamot on the far right. And then here is my front porch, which I need to work on. I need to do something for the facade. We ripped some facade off because it was damaged, and I think it was just over time it just degraded. But anyway, I get a lot of ironweed that pops up in here, and oh, here's a weed. So when I say a weed in my garden, if I call something a weed, it's because it's just a plant in the wrong spot, really. But mostly it's something non-native invasive. You know, I usually just remove things that are invasive or aggressive non-natives, things like that. Oh, and look, here is a native you all might or might not be familiar with, and it's just a volunteer. It just popped up like a weed would, but it's actually native, and it is a cleaver, or I like to call it sticky plant or Velcro plant. If you take a piece of this and you just throw it on someone's shirt, it'll stick to their shirt. It's really fun. I love it. And then behind it is wild bergamot, aka bee balm. I actually have the wild bergamot, and I also have the red one, but the red one you can't really see because the wild one kind of took it over. And then there was a frostweed down there. Frostweed and ironweed pop up all over my garden. So if you wanted to know what native plants pop up absolutely everywhere in my garden and just do well in almost any spot in my garden, it'd be ironweed and frostweed. Okay, so this is just a sweep of the garden, taking you back to the main path. And again, that elderberry at the end of the path is just, I love it. It catches all the water that comes off this path down the hill. This is a thornless blackberry. I'm assuming it's not native because I don't really know its origins because it's a thornless blackberry. I'm assuming it's some kind of cultivar. And then surrounding all this, we have common milkweed everywhere. And then down here, we have a little bit of orange milkweed, aka butterfly milkweed, aka Asclepias tuberosa. Yeah. I really love this plant a lot. I actually wish that this plant would spread just as much as the common milkweed would spread, but it just doesn't. The common milkweed is, to me, such a beautiful structural plant this time of year. I just don't really like how it looks in the fall. That's just my opinion. But it doesn't really matter because it's plant food, or it's food for the monarchs. Here's another sweep. You can see the non-native crepe myrtle in the middle, the Washington hawthorn that is native on the left, and down to the common milkweed. And then you can see I've left a lot of stems up in the garden. And here's that common milkweed here. And I left a lot of stems up in the garden, like I said, and one of them is purple coneflower. And here is a seed head for purple coneflower, and you can see there's a little jumping spider on this purple coneflower seed head. Look how cute he is! Adorable! Just chilling. So stems and seed heads are really important to leave in your garden if you can. Again, there are times I remove them, but it's usually just out of desperation. So for the most part, I leave my seed heads and my stems, and here is a common milkweed flower bud starting. And the earwigs really love like hanging out, sleeping inside of these plants for whatever reason. So I don't know why, but they do. You can kind of see them in there, and there's an ant in there too. But that is a flower bud on a common milkweed plant. So moving on, you'll see there's more wild bergamot down there, and the stems. And then over here, I have a couple non-natives like Canterbury bells, Verbena bonariensis, canna lilies, some kind of iris that's yellow. I don't always know what everything is, so yeah. Here is some Carolina cranesbill right here, and then intermixed you're gonna see partridge pea down there. Really tiny little partridge pea plants underneath of the Carolina cranesbill. Carolina cranesbill is a fantastic early season ground cover for sunny, dry spots, but it will go dormant or kind of like die back in the summer. So you need to pair it with things that are gonna shine in the summer. I've got peonies back here that are not native, of course. And then I've got mountain mint. Now this mountain mint is native, and I think this is the hoary mountain mint. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's hoary mountain mint because I only had hoary mountain mint in my garden and the seeds for it for a while. I just got clustered mountain mint like last year or the year before. So I think it's hoary mountain mint that has spread itself, and I have spread its seeds as well. This is a phlox. I don't know what kind of phlox this is. I bought this phlox before I knew about like native plant cultivars versus native plant like straight species. So I think that phlox is a cultivar type phlox. And then we've got Gara and peony again. Of course, peony is not native. The Gara is native. I just don't know what kind of Gara that is, so I can't tell you exactly what its native range is, but it's some kind of native southeast native Gara. And then, and that's what the little spiky things are, is Gara. And then amongst the Gara, we've got lots of ironweed popping up. Some of the speedwell you see with the blue flowers, that's a weed called speedwell. It's not native. Trust me, I've looked it up. This is butterfly weed, aka orange milkweed, mixed with Gara, and then some frostweed at the front of the bed there, just popping up on its own. Like I said, frostweed and ironweed just pop up all over the place. And then this is a brand new area. I pulled a bunch of non-natives out of here, like daylilies and irises and just the salvia. I pulled a bunch of non-natives out of here because this raised bed has a lot of prairie plants in it, and I wanted to continue that this way, so I did. And then down here you're gonna see in front of my little retaining wall is like my set of seedlings. Now the small cell trays were grown outside, and then the little pots and cups and, you know, recycled looking containers, those were done inside. And you'll notice that the inside ones are way better, and I don't think it's just because they're inside. I think a big part of it is those little cell trays. I just don't do good with those little cell trays. They just dry out too quickly, even with the bottom tray underneath of them. They just don't do great, and I can't really use the clear lid thing because then they'll just get too hot. So anyway, on the right is American elderberry, which I can't remember if this is a straight species black elderberry or if it's John's cultivar, because I have 3 elderberries total, and some of them are straight species and some of them are a cultivar. And then down here I have a mix of Carolina cranesbill, lance-leaf coreopsis, partridge pea. Those are native, but then I also have non-natives like Verbena bonariensis, bearded irises, blah blah blah. And then to the left there's ironweed, kind of like in the background there on the left. And what's supposed to come up over here is blue mistflower, but we'll see, because the blue mistflower was kind of sad last fall. Like late summer into the fall, it was kind of not happy. But anyway, here's the little flowers of Carolina cranesbill interspersed with partridge pea, and I think there's horseweed in there. Horseweed is a native, but it is considered a weed by many. But to me, it's more of one of those plants where I'll keep a couple of them around, but I'll pull the majority of them. But it is native, so just note that. This is, I think, Canterbury bells, not native. So how did the Canterbury bells get here, you might ask? Well, I planted them from seeds like years ago, and they're a biennial. So last year I didn't really have any, but then this year all of a sudden they're about to bloom. So I think I actually did have them last year. They were just kind of, I think I forgot about them. They were just a plant. They didn't bloom last year because, again, they're biennial. So I think they grow the first year, they bloom the second year, they die, they produce seeds, and then those seeds come up and they do their thing. So to have those every single year, blooming every year, I would have had to plant seeds like every year. Does that make sense? Okay. Anyway, so Canterbury bells are not native, but they're really pretty, and, you know, if they're invasive, I'll remove them, but if they're not invasive, I'm just going to let them do their thing. In this pot, I have wood sorrel, partridge pea, echinacea, purpurea, and, like, an elderberry stem cutting that I'm trying to grow from this elderberry bush. This is a non-native spirea, and let me know in the comments, you know, more about this plant if you know more about it, but it is a magic carpet cultivar spirea, and I don't really know what that is. I need to do a little bit of research, and the reason I don't know is I planted that little spirea like way back, like years ago, and so from my knowledge it's not native, but I don't think it's invasive, but I don't know, I probably need to figure that out. I can say that I'm going to be one of those annoying people and say, I haven't seen it spread in my garden, but that doesn't mean it's not invasive. Fun fact, just because you haven't seen something spread in your garden doesn't mean it doesn't spread. So, take that with what you will. This is the elderberry. I freaking love it. And a good thing to note is I have seen pollinators use the spirea, like the little hummingbird moths. I didn't even know the hummingbird moths liked the spirea. And the little tiny native bees, they like it too. That doesn't mean it's a good plant though. Keep in mind, if it's invasive, it's bad. So I need to figure that out. I've just been a little selfish and not figuring it out because I just think it's a cute little plant. But anyway, sometimes I'm so focused on my new garden areas that I just don't even think about it. But, so this is sort of a new garden bed, partially, like half of it's newer, so I'm still developing it. There's a lot of ironweed popping up in here, a lot of frostweed popping up in here. I moved the salvias over here, I moved some daylilies and irises over here. My husband helped me move some of these over here. I have landsleaf coreopsis. This is the yellow, pretty little yellow blooms. I love landsleaf coreopsis. It came up on its own. I don't know if it volunteered or if it was from a seed mix that I put in and just accidentally seeded it in a pot. It started out in a pot and then it just went from there. So, love landsleaf coreopsis. It's such a great plant for your garden if it's native where you are, and it's native here. So, okay, a bunch of non-native irises, boring. And then, boom, more common milkweed, a little bit of butterfly milkweed mixed in, and what else? Yeah, there's that butterfly milkweed mixed in with the irises, and then a lot of creeping Charlie that I need to remove. That area over there to the left with the creeping Charlie is a bare spot I need to fill. I haven't decided if I want to plant shrubs or if I want to plant perennials. I don't know, but I need to fill it up because it's just kind of empty. Okay, this is sage. I don't know what else to say. I think it's just common sage, but you let me know in the comments if you know something different. You may be wondering, why do you have some of these plants you don't know exactly what they are? Okay, so when I first started gardening, I was struggling to get things to grow. And so I would just ask people, hey, can you give me some plants? Or maybe I wouldn't even ask, I don't know. Sometimes I wouldn't even ask. Sometimes I would just be like, I struggle to grow things in this spot. And then I'd be given things. So I've been given the thornless blackberry. I was given the sage. I was given like the canna lilies or whatever they're called. I was given like daylilies, irises. I was given a bunch of the non-native stuff. I was also given native stuff. So I've been given a lot of different things. This is a grass. I'm not sure if it's native or not. I'm thinking it might be. Still trying to figure out what it is. Frostweed, common milkweed. And then the star of the garden right now over here is the penstemon. I think it's Penstemon pallidus or pale beard tongue. And I was always thinking that it was called pale beard tongue because of the hairy leaves and the hairy stems. But apparently, it's not called it because of that. It's called pale beard tongue because of the little yellow throats in the blooms. So, the more you know. I find it interesting. So this is just one of 2 beard tongues I've planted throughout this garden. This is the pale beard tongue, and then the other one that is not blooming yet is foxglove beard tongue. or Penstemon digitalis. So you won't see Penstemon digitalis in this video because it's not doing anything right now. But it is up and it's about to bloom, I think. So it looks like pale beard tongue happens first and foxglove beard tongue happens next. This is more lance leaf coreopsis, and it just looks so pretty on this day. Oh my gosh. I saw this American lady while I was filming this tour, and I was so excited. I just saw it chilling on this rock, warming itself up, surrounded by these invasive little speedwell plants. And I call them invasive. I don't know if they're technically invasive, but they're invasive in my yard, let's put it that way. But they are kind of cute, and they're surrounding this cute butterfly, and the butterfly was just soaking up the sun, trying to warm itself up on this rock. So that is something to note. If you want to have a butterfly garden, it makes sense to add rocks, especially close by your pollinator plants, like this lance leaf coreopsis. Butterflies really love rocks, and they like bare dirt. They like moist driveways. They love places they can sun and warm up. They like places they can get nutrients from, like moist dirt and things like that. And they love stems. So, fun fact, leaving stems in your garden is also good for butterflies because they might put their chrysalis up on a stem. I've seen them do that. So, butterflies love these things. So, if you have a butterfly garden and you want to make it better, don't forget to add some kind of damp soil, some kind of damp sand, or rocks, things like that. Just places for them to perch and sun on and sip some nutrients. So I just kind of enjoyed watching this butterfly here, but notice there's Bermuda grass like right above it. Like that's Bermuda grass popping up. Bermuda grass and, oh, there's Creeping Charlie up there at the top of the screen too. But Creeping Charlie and Bermuda grass are probably my #1 weeds that I get. And I get that speedwell too. Really the thing is it's good to just plant more native plants. And this lance leaf coreopsis plant is a great example of it. It's not too tall, but it's also not too short. It's kind of a great in-between. Next to it is this late purple aster, and you'll see in the background is a bunch of that common milkweed we saw earlier. To the right is wild bergamot, and there's penstemon back there. You might be able to see the penstemon kind of hiding behind everything. I've also got other plants back in there, like gray-headed coneflower and stuff, but it's not blooming yet. It's just leafing out. And I've got mountain mint and bergamot here. And then you could see my vines, and there's a lot of weeds in here I need to pull out, like a lot. But then to the right, there's a great section of Carolina cranesbill, so you can see how wonderful it can be when it's let to just do its thing. And it's helping to suppress some weeds. Now, there's still a lot of weeds in there, don't get me wrong, but it's helping to suppress some of those weeds. And yeah, I moved a lot of my non-natives over here, so like irises, daylilies, the boring stuff. Sorry if you like that stuff, but the boring non-natives. But I'm surrounding, I'm using them to create like a green mulch around my plums. So I have 2 American plums here. I also added some native asters over here, and purple coneflower, and blanket flower, and rudbeckia. And of course, this is where the frostweed has been popping up like crazy. So I've been trying to remove some of those because honestly, I have plenty of frostweed. I'm not hurting for frostweed. So I need to put some shorter plants over here. I don't want the tall ones right here. They can be over here on this right side though. That would be fine. I'm just trying to keep an aesthetic in mind when I edit my garden, you know. I let things seed themselves, but then I go in and edit and try to figure out, okay, do I really want this super tall plant in front of this short plant? Probably not. So I just try to keep that in mind. It's not a perfect system, but that's just the way I try to do it. And then over here I've got spiderwort, and I think this is Virginia spiderwort, but I'm not 100% sure, because I have Virginia spiderwort and I have Ohio spiderwort, and I always forget which one's which because they look so similar to me. And they say online you can look for hairs on the flower buds, but both of mine have hairs on the flower buds, so I don't it doesn't help me distinguish them at all. The leaf colors look different to me, like these leaves are smoother and greener, and the leaves of my other one are more like bluey, like a blue-green instead of a green-green. That's like the only difference I can see. But, you know, maybe over time I'll start to get more acquainted with them. I just need to observe plants for long enough to get used to what they look like and the differences between them. I need time. But then my redbud is right there, my eastern redbud. And then the pink evening primrose to the right, flanking the non-native crepe myrtle. The pink evening primrose is, I think, a native or a near native. Like, it might not be native to my county. I can't remember, but I think it's native to the state. Maybe. Don't quote me on that one. And then there's the arbor as of April 30th, but as of the voice recording of this video, we have pretty much finished the arbor. It just needs a little bit of tweaks here and there, so I can't wait for you to see the more finished version of the arbor. Alright, so I think this view is really pretty. I like seeing the arbor. I like the little pathways we have going on. But we do have some other things we want to do. I really want to add a pond, so we're still trying to decide where to put that. But over here is Habitat Hedge, and we have a lot of plants in here. We have, right here we have frostweed that volunteered, asters. We have these sedges that I'm not really sure what kind of sedges these are, but I like them. Hopefully they're native because I really like them. I think they're really nice. So they just kind of volunteered here underneath this redbud tree. And then over to the right we have a lot of obedient plant and violets and strawberries and more frostweed popping up, Carolina cranesbill, and I've put a red chokeberry shrub here that one of my friends gave me. We exchanged some plants. I gave her a black cherry tree, she gave me a red chokeberry shrub, and then I have button bushes here. They're cultivars though. They're like shorter ones. I have an American beautyberry, but my American beautyberry right there, it's got dieback in it, and I'm not sure why, but there is an invasive vine coming up behind it that I need to kill. I thought I pulled it up by the root, but apparently I didn't get it all because it's still there. So I might have to actually use glyphosate on that. And then over here at the other end of Habitat Hedge we have eastern red cedar, American plums, American elderberry, and the eastern red cedar can get really, really tall, so I'm planning to trim that, keep it more like a shrub. And then this is my black cherry tree, and I have a redbud tree on the left of it. And underneath this black cherry tree I have pink evening primroses, just like over here. Oh, this is underneath the crepe myrtle tree. But I have them under the black cherry tree as well. And I have this little, what was supposed to be a butterfly puddle, which you add like compost, sand, pebbles, and water in like a little planter dish. And it's supposed to attract butterflies. I don't think I've ever seen butterflies on this, but I see wasps use it and birds use it all the time. And then the pink evening primroses in front of it. You can see the pink evening primroses are prolific. So just keep that in mind. If you grow it, they will spread quite a lot. I'm not really sure if they're seeding themselves or if they're spreading under the ground, but either way, they spread. And so just keep that in mind. I don't mind it. I've kind of gotten used to them. I probably don't appreciate them as much as I should, but you know, whatever. And then I moved this oak leaf hydrangea over here next to this black cherry tree in hopes that it can get some more sun, because it was in a really shady area before. And then I have my May apples in here. One of them fell over. Hopefully it's still alive. I'm not really sure why it fell over, but it did. But I put the basket back over the other one. I've got ebony spleenwort in here. That's the ferny looking thing. I've got columbine in here. And then I've got this thimbleweed, I think is what it's called. Which is pretty interesting. It kind of came in with the columbine, so I can't wait to see what the bloom looks like on this one. I've looked at it online, but I think it's like a little white bloom, so can't wait to see that. And then there's a couple oak trees trying to grow in here, and I'm trying to decide if I want to keep one of those oak trees this close to the cherry tree, or if that's just too close. Let me know in the comments what you think. It's about, what, 2 or 3 feet away from the cherry tree trunk, maybe? Max. So yeah, let me know your opinions in the comments. And this cilantro on the left, and then non-native irises over here, a daylily or two, and wild bergamot. And then an ironweed there on the bottom. And then I have this pot, and I have a lot of lance leaf coreopsis in here. I think this is the pot that the lance leaf coreopsis first showed up in. And it has just proliferated from there. And this is where my passion vine usually grows. Now, these little seedlings came up, and I think they might be passion vine, but they also could be butterfly weed, maybe. I'm not sure. I recognize those cotyledons, but I do not remember why I recognize them. Like, I don't remember if it's passion vine or butterfly weed. So, we'll see. But things have been chewing on them. You'll see maybe in a different video. And then here's that American elderberry, and you can see this black elderberry has an interesting form, almost like it's from Whoville. But when you're on this side, it looks more full and lush and pretty, but it grows really interestingly. It kind of like has a weeping form to it, and I really like it. So over here is the trench that I dug. It goes all the way to the cherry tree, so I have like a rain garden right up against the cherry tree, and it comes from the side and back garden. And the reason that I dug this is because I had water coming in my basement, and it was really annoying. So I dug this trench, and I also regraded the land next to my house and stuff like that, and it was a lot of work. I did have my husband help me a little bit, but I did a lot of it myself. But it was a lot of work. And then here is the purple flowering raspberry. We've got some broom sedge blue stem, some oak trees popping up that I probably need to remove because they're probably too close to the house. And then onward and upward, you'll see all kinds of things coming up. I have some mosses up here. And then on the left, I have a spice bush, which has a lot of dieback in it, and I don't know if it just gets too much sun there or what. And then over here, I have some new plants back here that I've added, like this Tilia trifoliata, aka hop tree. It is the host plant for the giant swallowtail butterflies. And to the left of it, I have a redbud tree, and behind it, there's another redbud tree that just kind of volunteered. So I might be removing one of those. There's an oak tree seedling to the left that's just kind of popped up on its own. You can see it there. And I've added asters and frostweeds back here, but I don't know if they're going to do well or not. I had like this little temporary experimental pond that I put in from like an ice cream tub, but I don't think it's successful. But there's something next to it. Does anyone know what this is? Does anyone know what this is? I, for some reason, cannot remember what I put here, or if I even put this here. I don't know what that plant is. If you know, that would be great. Just let me know in the comments. And then over here is another new plant I added back in the fall. This is sassafras. I had been wanting to get my hands on sassafras for so long, and I finally have two of them. One of them's right here, and I just kind of raked some of the leaves around it to give it a little bit of protection. And I have a lot of weeds in this bed that I need to remove. A lot of weeds. But there are some natives in here too, so, you know, it's kind of a mixed bag. It's kind of an undeveloped area, but hopefully eventually I'll get it worked on. And then here is another red bud. This one's growing really slowly because it's getting a lot more, I guess it's a lot more dry back here and a lot less sun than the front yard. But it does probably get 4 hours of sun, maybe 5 is my guess. And this is the compost and brush pile area back here. I call this the alleyway. So if you ever hear me saying the alleyway, this is what I mean. It's not a literal alleyway. Like, we cannot drive back here at all. And then this is where a lot of wildlife come through the fence, like underneath the fence down there, that little opening. And unfortunately, a lot of cats come through too. There are a lot of neighborhood cats that just, I'm assuming, are strays or feral. I don't know. Here is a lot of broom sedge bluestem and pine trees and goldenrod and asters and panic grasses. And then over here I've got an American holly, I think, coming up, and I'm really excited. And I cut a lot of those blackberry stems away from it so it can get a little bit more light and a little bit more room to grow, and I hope it grows. They grow slow, so we'll just have to keep an eye on that. And then this is kind of what this little area looks like. It's a more wild area. This area is kind of a no-mow. Like, we mow the path, and that's pretty much it. And then down here, I planted another new plant in the fall, and it is rhododendron maximum. So it is that really pretty rhododendron that grows wild up. We took a trip to Kentucky, and it inspired me to buy one of these plants when I got home down here. And so I bought that the same day I bought the sassafrases and the hop trees. And you can see there was an oak tree really close by, and I'm thinking about keeping that oak tree. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Honest thoughts? I don't have any oak trees yet other than these seedlings that pop up. And here's my other hop tree. I know it looks like poison ivy, but it's not. It's hop tree. When I was planting the hop tree, the roots smelled so good. Oh, that's American plum on the right, by the way. That gets quite a bit of sun because of the break between the buildings right here. The sun comes in, so I think that American plum gets 5 or 6 hours of sun versus the rest of this area gets 4 hours of sun. It's a big difference. Surprisingly, it's a big difference. And I know that because my other plums I had back here that only got like 4 hours of sun were not doing very well at all. So I moved them to the front yard because American plum loves sun. As much sun as you can give it is what I would say. And this area is also undeveloped. I would like to rip out that dead rhododendron and put some things here. But last year, there was a yellow jacket nest right here in this hole next to the foundation, and they were doing their thing. Now, we did not get stung by them. Neither of us did, even though my husband mows like on the other side of this path. So you'll see there's a path I'm on that's like gravel and stepping stones. On the opposite side behind me, he mows that, and they didn't bother him. They would come in and out. They wouldn't bother us. I avoided the area most of the time last year. So this area, I didn't weed or anything because I didn't want to be near them. But I do eventually want to kind of pull the invasive stuff out of here. Like, I think we have Indian strawberry in here that I want to pull out, and maybe put the native strawberries in here. There are native violets in here though, and native erigeron, stuff like that. But then here's my spice bush that's actually doing well. And you can see this area, well, you probably can't see, but this area gets a lot of shade. A lot of shade, because this is basically the north side of the house, just like my little fern gully area. And they both get a lot of shade. So I guess in my garden, spice bush just needs to just be put in the shade. Straight up shade. So here's what the path looks like, and you can see on the right gets mowed and weed-eated, and on the left just kind of gets left alone. And I have temporarily put these trellises here because I do eventually want to grow things on the garage. That sounded weird. On the garage, but I haven't quite got that set up the way I want it yet. But it's just such a blank white wall; it's boring, and I just want to grow some pretty things on there. This is basically the goldenrod forest on the left, and on the right is a mix of goldenrod and asters in the dry creek and along the dry creek. And then right here I have dwarf crested irises, which a lovely commenter left a sweet comment and said I should just divide these and put them up front. But then I read that dwarf crested iris likes a little bit of shade, so I don't think they would do well up front unless I put them under my cherry tree or something like that, because I think they need a little bit more shade than my front garden has. But if I had native irises that could handle the front garden, trust me, I would be putting them up there all over the place. Anyway, so when I go onto the driveway, you can see I have my little seedlings and stuff here. But first, I want to show you this little skinny bed here. So I've got violets and sedges. They came up on their own, and then I have a spiderwort here, which unfortunately during the filming of this video did not have blooms yet. But as I am recording this voiceover right now, it is blooming in my backyard, and we had a lot of rain today, so it's really wet out, you know, as I'm recording this. But yeah, in the video you can see the buds before they opened up. This is the spiderwort that I think is Ohio spiderwort, but I'm just not sure. You can see the leaves are more blue-green than green-green compared to the other spiderwort I have. And the leaves have like hairs, whereas the other one, the leaves didn't really have as much hair. This is sassafras again, so I bought 2 sassafrasses and 2 hop trees in the fall, and I wanted to put this one in full sun, and I did, and the other one in that part sun condition, because in my area, I think sassafras can handle both, but I was just kind of curious which one would do better, so I have one here and one in the part shade. I've got wild bergamot here, I've got a bunch of goldenrod here. I think I'm going to pull just a little bit of these goldenrods so that my sassafras and my bergamot have more room. Something's eating the bergamot like crazy, by the way, back here. I don't know what. And then here are some of my pots I've sown. Some of them I sowed in fall or early winter, and some of them I recently sowed from my fridge. So I had like cold stratified some seeds in the fridge, and I, within the past month or two, sowed some of those seeds in pots. And I'm probably going to be continuing to do that because I have quite a few seeds left in the fridge actually that I need to sow, and I think I'm going to do some more indoor seedlings because the indoor seedlings I can control a little bit more. Like I can fully baby them more, and when they sit outside, it's like I do give them attention, but just not as much. And so I have liatris and common wood sedge and stuff like that growing over there. And this is my butterfly puddle that still haven't seen it attract butterflies. I thought this one might actually work because I've got sand and dirt and rocks and leaves and sticks, but we'll see. You know, if it attracts them, it probably won't attract them till like we go more into summer anyway, so we'll just have to wait and see. But over here I have cardinal flower in this pot here, which is doing pretty decent. And then I have cup plant here. I thought I had Joe Pye in that pot, but I'm pretty sure those are ironweed. I don't know how I got that mixed up. Sometimes I use old seeds from my stash, and it said Joe Pye, but maybe it was ironweed. I don't know. It's weird. I have Joe Pye plants and ironweed plants. I don't know how I got that mixed up, though. And then I have rattlesnake master, great blue lobelia, stuff like that. And then over here I have some plants underneath this screen. I do this to protect them from the squirrels, because the squirrels and sometimes the birds like to peck around or scratch around in my pots. And I really wanted to protect these because I've been wanting Golden Alexander for so long. And so I have Golden Alexander in that left pot and in that far right pot. But then right here I have river oats. And I'm excited to grow river oats. I love the seed pods on those. And then this one is, I think, switchgrass. It's kind of hard for me to see in this video right now, but I think this is switchgrass. Yeah. And that's supposed to be a really, really good native grass. This winged sumac pot is not, those are not winged sumac. Those are asters and goldenrods popping up, I think. This is Golden Alexander. Another Golden Alexander there. Cannot wait to plant those in the garden. So excited about those. And then this is side oats grama, but it's not. I mean, there's just weeds in there. I don't know why, but side oats grama did not come up in that pot. I have side oats grama coming up in other pots, but for whatever reason, it did not want to come up in this pot. So, see, because I left my seed heads on my goldenrods and my asters, I didn't really think about that. They popped up everywhere in these pots, so I'm always pulling goldenrods and asters out of these. But these, there's 3 or 4 flowering dogwood trees in there. I don't know if you caught that. My friend, he has flowering dogwood trees in his yard, and he gave me some of the berries from his tree, so I'm hoping I can cultivate those in my garden. And over here I've got several things. I've got switchgrass, side oats grama, wild senna, butterfly weed, I think late purple aster. I've got a bunch of things over here. I think I have wood sedge, like common wood sedge. I have all kinds of things here, and I cannot wait to put them in the garden. I'm so excited about that. And then up here, the silky dogwood is starting to bloom. And I've been seeing little tiny butterflies laying eggs on the blooms, especially before they fully bloom out, like on the flower buds. And I'm so excited. It just shows when you put the host plants in your garden, it might take a couple years, it might take 3 years, but eventually they will come and lay eggs on your plants. It just takes a little while for them to find them, but it's so worth the wait. But yeah, these blooms are really pretty. The sun is kind of washing them out in this footage, but the blooms are pretty. The berries are even prettier. This produces like blue colored berries. Gorgeous. They almost look like pearls. Like they kind of have a pearly look to them. The birds actually really love to eat those berries too. And then I let this Virginia creeper do its thing. It's such a beautiful vine. Guys, I know a lot of you hate Virginia creeper, but like, it's such a good vine. It's, you know a vine that I really get frustrated with? Grapevines. I know. Some of them are edible, but they drive me crazy the way they grow. But Virginia creeper just, it grows. It's almost like Virginia creeper can read my mind and grow exactly the way in which I want it to grow. Like this one is growing on my ugly retaining wall. And that's what I want. And it's growing under the silky dogwoods. And that's what I want. I have not seen it growing up inside my shrubs, which I wouldn't really love. And it's like it knows it. And then it's growing on my fences. Love that. You know, giving the fences a little bit more beauty than they have. So Virginia creeper, love it. Love it, love it. Now, if it's not native where you live, it's probably invasive, you know, in some countries, I'm assuming. yes, obviously it's annoying if it's an invasive plant where you live, but here it's native, and by definition a native cannot be termed invasive. It can be termed aggressive, but not invasive. I just want that PSA out there. Now, these seedlings are like my rejects that I don't think grew, and so I just kind of have them in here just in case, but I think they're just weeds at this point. I think weeds have taken them over. But I'm giving them a chance. I'm giving them a chance because I had a lot of failure last year with my seedlings, and so those are kind of some of those. Just to see if they do anything, you know? You never know. And over here, I really want to add some shrubs over here, but for now, I've got wild bergamot, and I think either goldenrod or aster, probably goldenrod. And then I think ironweed, and then I have pokeweed right there. And then if we keep on going, there are a lot of annoying weeds in here, not gonna lie. But hopefully, eventually I can grow some shrubs in here and kind of give it a little bit more dimension. You know, the silky dogwood shrubs give it beautiful dimension. But I just need some shrubs down here because it's just blah. Just blah. We moved some of these non-native irises back here from the front yard because I just have so many. I have so many. I'll probably phase them out eventually. But for now, I'm working with what I have. You know, to just fill up space until I get some natives in there. And then here's my little bird bath, you know, it's just a little dish that I clean out every few days and refresh with fresh water. This is the dry creek. It is filled with goldenrods and asters, as you can see. I also get a lot of Queen Anne's lace. I need to actually double check and see if Queen Anne's lace is invasive. I can't remember if it's just not native or if it's invasive, but it is a host plant supposedly for the black swallowtail butterfly, but it is aggressive for sure. This is blue-eyed grass. Love blue-eyed grass. I think blue-eyed grass is really underrated. It was forming seed pods, but those were really cute little blue flowers before. It's a great short plant. This is my fern gully, is what I call it. This is right up against the back of my house, so the north-facing side of my house. I've got wild geranium, wild ginger, marsh fleabane, wood sedge, strawberries, native orchid. Over there is blue phlox. There's that Queen Anne's lace starting to bloom. And I think I have wild petunia back there somewhere. But this is that wood phlox. I think this is the first year it ever bloomed. I've had this in here since like 2022, I think. This is the first year I've seen it bloom. And I think the rabbits ate the others because I think I had more than one. There's the Queen Anne's lace. I think it's pretty, but I have to remove a lot of it because it is aggressive and it spreads in that other. I don't want it to take over the fern gully, so I take it out of fern gully whenever I see it in fern gully. But I've been letting it grow on the other side of the path, but I think I have to dig a bunch of it up because I'm suspecting it might be invasive. This is blue star Amsonia. I think it's the eastern blue star Amsonia. I like it a lot. I think I like it better than the other Amsonia I showed you at the beginning of the video. And I think it's more native than the other one, if that makes sense. I think they're both native, but I think this one's more native, if that makes sense. But don't quote me on that. You might have to look that up. And next to it, I have I think it's called Blue Indigo. And let me just say, when I planted this here, I saw pictures of it and thought it was small. But when I went to Roundstone Native Seed on a trip, and I saw how it grows, I realized maybe I shouldn't have put it in that little thin strip. Maybe it'll work, but I don't know. I think I miscalculated that one. I think I should have moved it, but I think it has a taproot, so I don't know if I can move it. Anyway, this is Fern Gully. I've got foam flower, I've got Christmas fern, common wood sedge, I think, marsh fleabane, wild ginger, wild geranium, strawberries, obedient plant, chain fern, or wait, netted chain fern, southern lady fern, sorry, and I think Solomon seal. It's either Solomon seal or false Solomon seal. I get those mixed up. And that's it, everyone. I just wanted to end this video with this little footage of the butterfly because that was one of my favorite things I saw today. And I hope you enjoyed this video and got something out of it. I don't often say the names of the plants, so I thought this would be helpful. Thanks so much for watching. Bye! You all requested it, and it's finally here. Reduce Your Lawn shirts are now available in my brand new merch shop. Thanks so much for supporting the wildlife habitat we're creating. To support the channel, like the video, comment, and subscribe. You can also support my work by buying art from me at macylu.com. Thanks for watching!